It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Welcome, friends and neighbors. I'm Tyler Kieft. Thank you for joining us. The West Bloomfield Lakers football team remains perfect after a Week 3 victory over Rochester Adams at home at the Swamp. Here to talk about the Lakers' nail-biter of a victory in another classic at the Swamp on Friday is Laker football color commentator Matt Catoni. Matt, thanks for joining me.
Yep, thank you for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you on. The Lakers now 3-0 and 1-0 in the OAA Red following another nail-biter of a game against Rochester Adams. Very similar flavor to a year ago on the road in Rochester, this time around at West Bloomfield High School. 12-6 victory in a very defensive matchup, and that's really what did stand out for the Lakers. Their front seven dominant once again against much tougher competition than they saw in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I think the best way to describe this defense, kind of comes from what Jeremiah Benson said to the Detroit Free Press. They're different. This Lakers front seven is dominant, and, those first 2 weeks we kind of said they had been playing dominant and physical, but Rochester Adams was that first test, and they passed it with flying colors. Jeremiah Benson in particular flashing in that first drive, forcing a field goal attempt for Rochester Adams, which they missed, and that proved to be a very big difference in the game.
It did, and the Lakers were able to keep their foot on the gas. Even when they made some mistakes, their opening drive of the game didn't quite go very well. They had a punt that went way over Jackson Carver's head and put Rochester Adams in scoring position. Their defense came up big and shut down Adams, prevented any scoring on that particular drive, and were able to shift the momentum back to the offense, where this time around we saw a breakout game for Jamal Shakespeare.
Yeah, and going into this game, you asked the question, who are we going to see the Lakers kind of, start to lean on? Who are going to be those playmakers come OAA or red time? And we saw that Jamal Shakespeare is really going to be one of those focal points on offense for the Lakers. And on that touchdown drive, we saw how he can just move the ball downfield and make people miss.
He did, and he was excellent in this particular game on the ground, 75 yards rushing, including a touchdown early on in the game to break the Lakers' scoring in that game. 19 carries, 75 yards, about 4 yards per carry, less than he usually averages in the game throughout the season, right around 5 yards per carry, but got his second touchdown of the year, 155 yards rushing on the ground. Jamal Shakespeare quickly emerging as a quiet superstar for the Lakers in 2025. We've been looking at so many other players across the board like Joel Davis and Jackson Carver, their young quarterback in his first full season, who also continued to look extremely poised. And Carver's poise we've praised in the first 2 weeks coming into this game, Matt, but really we've seen that poise across the entirety of that young offense, executing at almost about 100% on Friday last week.
Yeah, really, it speaks to the leaders and veterans on this team, how they've been able to maintain their composure in some of these situations. Like you mentioned, snap goes over Carver's head. Rochester Adams gets the ball in favorable position. Lakers defense doesn't waver whatsoever. They hold them to a field goal, they miss, and the offense reciprocates. They just feed off one another, and you never really see them fold in moments where, something doesn't go their way. The next play, they're hitting back that much harder.
And something that Coach Hilbers had mentioned after the game in their post-game scrum, he praised the players. He said he has not seen as good of a week of practice from those players in a very long time. They had a perfect week of practice, and that translated to their game against Rochester Adams, and because of that, they end up coming out with a win. Once again, we see at the end of that game, about 10, maybe 11 minutes left in the ball game, Rochester Adams has the football. They hold the football for a sustained drive. They march into Laker territory. They're starting to threaten the red zone again, and it's starting to look like oh no, could this be a similar result to a year ago where it's 14-14 throughout much of that second half after a scoreless first half, and it's just a war of attrition. We know that is Coach Petrito's strategy, especially in close games late in the game. We saw the Lakers, like you said, not lose that confidence, stay focused. That speaks to a very veteran defense led up front by Tank Pittman and Jeremiah Benson.
Yeah, and really going into this game, you knew a lot of the onus was going to go on Pittman and Jeremiah Benson with how this Rochester Adams offense operates, and they did not disappoint yet again. And that's the thing with this Lakers team. It's almost as if they're scorned from a year ago, kind of getting pushed around by some of these teams like Rochester Adams and the state champions Catholic Central. And you've seen them almost toughen up in the trenches, and they just invite that kind of mentality and sort of offenses to come with them.
Yet the Lakers now firmly atop the OAA Red division, 1-0 alongside Clarkston, also 1-0 in the division, but their overall record, the Lakers, the final undefeated team in their overall record in the OAA Red division. Clarkston, one sole loss on the season, as does Oxford and Rochester Adams now after this loss. And now the Lakers will go on the road to take on a team that's really been struggling and has on top of that had some serious injury problems in Lake Orion. It's easy for the Lakers to go into a game like this confident at 3-0 after beating a team like Rochester Adams and maybe let their foot up off the gas, especially against a team that's had some injury woes and has really not had a whole lot to be confident about in these first 3 weeks. But Matt, it's a whole different ball game after 3 home games where you've been dominant to go on the road, especially to a place with as passionate of a fan base as Lake Orion.
Yeah, you mentioned the home field advantage for the Lakers so far, giving up 2 points per game, and the lone touchdown being, a phenomenal play by DeWood, and really just sort of something you can live with because it wasn't necessarily a breakdown in coverage, rather a perfect throw and a phenomenal play from the receiver. But going on to the road this week, I think, again, it comes back to something Hilbers has always loved to preach, and that's, not getting too caught up in the moment and preparing the best you can and just doing what you can and beating your opponent no matter what.
It's a good litmus test for this team, too, to see how they react to all the highs and to all the lows of a season, because any one of these teams in the OAA Red is capable of sneaking up on you and giving you a surprise game. In past years, when Oxford's been one of those teams that has never really been expected to be one of the best in the OAA Red division, they've always given West Bloomfield a tough game to the point where I always will refer to Oxford as the big blue trap game. This is one of those also with Lake Orion. They have been in the game in some regards, but have been very unfortunate with the injuries that have come into play. They have a different quarterback this year. It's tough to replace T.R. Hill, but that's not to say that they've been out of these games. All 3 of their games have been single-digit differences. Week 1, a near win against Northville and a nail-biter that came down to the last couple of possessions, 13-14 loss. 2 weeks ago against Stony Creek in Lake Orion, their first home game of the season, 9-point loss, 20-29. Last week, despite all their efforts, they go on the road, a tough environment against a team that's really building well in Rochester. They only lose that game by 2 points, despite having the outcome that they had with all the injuries that even occurred during that game last week. They've looked a little bit disjointed at times, have the Dragons, but this is a team that's still in the mix, and so really key for the Lakers to come into that game and play their best football. They're certainly confident, Matt, after last week's game, and they're playing as one very cohesive unit. That plays a big role, too, especially when you start to get into the thick of the season and face some of that common adversity.
Yeah, and really that's one thing about the OAA Red. You mentioned, Lake Orion battling some injuries. All these teams are very talented throughout their depth chart, and nobody really cares what you did last week or what your record is. So each week it's really a battle and almost a playoff environment for these OAA Red games, and that's why the Lakers are going to have to maintain their discipline and focus, because that can kind of be the deciding factor in some of these games.
One thing they're not missing is togetherness and a sense of leadership. This is a team that plays for each other. Very evident. We had a super special moment at the end of last week's game. So State Champs was on the broadcast. Patty Cesarini was their sideline reporter. She's interviewing Coach Hilbers after the game. We were running the PA and the scoreboard over there. After a huge win like that, Dave Scott from our team put that interview up on the scoreboard. It got the attention of the players, and that led to this very special moment at the Swamp.
What do you have to say about the way your defense played this entire game?
They really stepped up. They started stepping up in the weight room in January, and all summer they worked really hard, and I think the confidence has kind of carried over. They're a great team. Adams is a great team, great program, and they're resilient. They had some kids go down, and they were still driving at the end of the game, putting pressure on us, but our guys have responded time and time again, and I'm really, really proud of them.
Oh, and there they are now.
A big celebration for the Lakers after their 12-6 victory last week, Matt. They got a lot to be happy about. They got a lot to still look forward to with a tough outlook going forward. We saw some big steps forward from week 1 to week 2. We saw some even bigger steps forward from week 2 to week 3 as the Lakers continue in this Red Division schedule and face Lake Orion this week with Birmingham Groves looming on the other side. What's the next step you're looking for the Lakers to take in week number 4?
Well, I would like to see them kind of expand the offense, a little bit more, see them kind of establish themselves more on offense. Rochester Adams, obviously, tremendous defense, well-coached team. Lake Orion struggling a little bit. We know the defense is legit. It'd be nice to kind of see one of those games now where in the OAA Red, the offense kind of takes off and puts some points up on the board.
Yeah, looking to see some of those athletes get some yards after the catch. A little bit of action for the Lakers. Willie Edwards on 2 receptions this year. It's been a couple of bomb passes. He's averaging 22 yards. He's averaging 37 yards, mind you, per reception. He averaged 22 in that game against Rochester Adams. But a lot of these guys had slower games last week, hoping to get back to more of what we saw in those first 2 weeks next week. Part of that's just the strategy of how it all shook out in a very tough matchup that required both teams to maintain the possession of the ball, run the football a lot. I'm looking to see the receiving core get back in the game week number 4 at Lake Orion. We're not going to be on the broadcast this week. It's going to be our friends at Orion Neighborhood TV on the broadcast, and it's only going to be on the NFHS network. You'll have to subscribe in order to watch that game through Lake Orion's team apparatus. We'll put a link to where you can get onto the NFHS network to see that game on our Lakers sports page on CivicCenterTV.com. Matt, before we let you go, anything else, any other points you want to make about the Lakers' 12-6 victory in week number 3 against Rochester Adams?
Yeah, I really think it was almost putting the entire state or the OAA Red on notice with how legit that this defense is and how just dominant that front 7 can be.
That is certainly the case after a 12-6 victory for the West Bloomfield Lakers, where after 115 minutes and 10 seconds of scoreless football, finally someone put some points on the board against the Lakers. They were able to shut out Rochester Adams for the remainder of that game afterward and start perhaps a new streak. We'll see how dominant that defense can be and how electric the offense can be as they get their first test on the road Friday, 7 o'clock at Lake Orion. Matt, thank you as always.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you on. We'll see you back right here in the booth alongside me in a couple of weeks when the Lakers take on Birmingham Groves back at the Swamp. In the meantime, more information on Lakers sports, including the football team, where you can follow along all season long. See this week's episode of This Week in Laker Football very soon, and get information on where to watch that Lake Orion football game this week Friday, CivicCenterTV.com/LakersSports. After last week's thrilling victory against Rochester Adams, I had a chance to speak to the Lakers' defensive coordinator, LeRon Jones, about the team's continued dominance on defense and how it looks like perhaps these Lakers are returning to classic West Bloomfield winning football. Tyler Keefe alongside LeRon Jones, the West Bloomfield Lakers defensive coordinator. 12-6 victory in week 6 to kick off OAA Red Division play. Coach, 3 weeks, just 6 points on the board. Pretty good start to the season.
Yeah, pretty good start, man. We've been really locked in, really preparing well. Everybody's been doing their homework assignments, studying film, studying an opponent, and today it really showed up. 3 weeks, 3 opponents, 3 times you have stopped them in their own end zone. Your team's getting after it, getting in the backfield, getting the ball carriers, and putting some serious pressure on your opponents. Yeah. I mean, and it all starts up front, man, with the defensive line. Jeremiah Benson, Kamari Pittman. A lot of those guys are really playing, young guys like Tristan Hunter and some of my senior leadership and Jamal Shakespeare and Will Espy and Kyron Merriweather. I mean, their guys are really stepped up. Khalid Robinson. I mean, that's just to name a few, man. This thing is a really group effort, man, and everybody right now is playing at a high level. So I'm really looking forward to next week at Lake Orion.
And everyone playing in that role, coming together, especially when you're under pressure. Rochester Adams has the football again. They're marching up the field, very similar to a year ago. What was the difference maker communication-wise for your team to reverse the course from last year and this time come out on top?
I mean, well, we kind of talked about it all week, just kind of being locked in and, dealing with adversity, because we knew at some point this season we was going to face adversity. But it's how you respond to adversity, and today we did a really, really, really good job of responding to adversity. I mean, we had our back against the wall 2 times a day. We came up with the stops. We actually had another safety. I think that's 3 weeks in a row with a safety. And just 2 defensive penalties that we'll try to clean up with the light face mask penalties. But, pretty clean game by the defense today. And I like to shout out my staff, Coach Keith Cameron, Coach Ronald Johnson, and Coach Cornell Wheeler, who's back and helping us out, doing a phenomenal job helping me out with the linebacker core, which is really, really, really one of the highlights of the defense this year.
Yeah, Coach Wheeler getting a shout out from state champs during their broadcast tonight near the end as one of the great all-time Laker defenders. And Coach Cam, before he came down for the post game with the team, he said it to the guys in the booth. We're getting back to old school Laker football. Absolutely. How important is it to get into that old school mentality with guys like Cornell being able to put that context for a pretty young team across the board, but a defense that's got that veteran presence and is seeing a lot of football?
Absolutely. I mean, some of the lineage here, man, is great, man. These guys have very, very good defensive teams in the past, man. And, it's kind of hard to be compared to some of the greats, man, with the Brandon Davis Swains and the Jameer Benjamins and the Bryce Rose and Kari Jacksons and guys like that, man, But, I mean, I think we can make our own history because we work pretty hard and everybody's locked in, and it's really a brotherhood. And I think that's what makes us the way we are, killer instinct, not want to let up anything, not want to give up anything, and really dealing with adversity like a championship defense is supposed to. I think we have the makings of that here this year.
It took 115 minutes and 10 seconds of football for anybody to put points on the board against these Lakers in 2025. Got a very tough test ahead if you're the Lake Orion Dragons and anybody else on the schedule. Coach Jones, anything else for us tonight?
Hey, go Lakers. Enjoy the win.
Coach LaRon Jones, defensive coordinator of the Lakers, 12-6 victory in week number 3, going into Lake Orion week number 4 with a 3-0 record and a first win in the OAA round. Great conversation with Coach Jones and his defense. They are seeming more confident than ever going into this season. We haven't seen that kind of confidence from a defense like theirs in a long time. I know I haven't seen it. Even a couple of years back when they had guys like Brandon Davis Swain leading that defense, and they were pretty dominant. I don't think that they've been playing as strong of defensive football as they have so far this season since the championship year. Guys like Jeremiah Benson fired up. Guys like Tank Pittman leading the charge as well, doing so quietly and lifting up these other players also. They're playing great team football in all 3 phases and a lot to be excited about as the Lakers head off to Lake Orion on Friday. More information on where you can view that game on civiccentertv.com/Lakersports. It will be exclusively broadcast on the NFHS network, courtesy of Orion Neighborhood TV. It's a major landmark in West Bloomfield, nestled in the middle of Orchard Lake. Recently, residents took a special preview with the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society to explore the wonders of Apple Island. We sent reporter Jake Schaff along on the journey.
If you're looking for someplace that is rich in history in Greater West Bloomfield, look no further than Apple Island. Every year, the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society takes several lucky residents from Greater West Bloomfield to stop by Apple Island and to learn about the vast and rich history of the island from over 100 years ago.
It has been an absolute glorious, fantastic day out here, and most of our visitors are first-timers, so to see the look of awe and wonder in their eyes, to spin around and see nothing but beautiful nature with a gentle breeze and no mosquitoes. They're loving it, and they get to learn the natural beauty of the island and also to learn the historical background too.
What would you say are some of your favorite parts of this whole place?
I think being surrounded by nature in a very peaceful, I've been here in freezing sleet rains, I've been here in snow, I've been here in sweltering days, been here with mosquitoes. It's always an incredible experience. Being here today is just beyond perfect. I've been doing this for at least 40 years, and I love it.
I thought it was awesome. It was a beautiful day, first of all, and being able to hike through the woods and talk to the docents and have them answer our questions and learn about all the history of the island was very cool. Well, I think it's really important to understand the history in the area that you live in, and hopefully by learning the history, we can all be more conscious of preserving the area and taking care of the land that we all live on.
My ancestors, the Campbells, bought the island in 1856. They were Scottish immigrants. They came to Detroit in 1842, had a dry goods store in Detroit, and this was the equivalent of going up north in the 1850s. They bought the island in 1856 as a summer getaway. I think the Campbells in particular would be so gratified to know that it's a nature sanctuary today. We all can be out here enjoying it, and it's the same things that they were enjoying about it 150 years ago. So I think that is very remarkable.
With the chances to come to Apple Island being so scarce nowadays, how special are these trips in really showcasing these wonders to the people of Greater West Bloomfield?
It's crucial. You know, this tells the story of our history out here. It tells the history of the land. It tells the history going back from the glaciers. Mostly we like to showcase the native people that lived here. And if we don't keep telling our stories, the stories will be forgotten. So to be on such a beautiful wildlife, incredible island, it's so important that people learn it, and the elder people and their offspring and the little kids, that they continue the stories of Apple Island and the stories of native life.
These tours need to continue, and that they are for the community and by the community, and so we hope that these will be able to continue in perpetuity.
As long as Apple Island is here, it will always be home to several different nuggets of history for everyone in the Greater West Bloomfield community to learn. A big thank you to the Historical Society for putting on this incredible event every single year and for preserving the history of one of Michigan's most beloved locations. For Civic Center TV, I'm Jake Schaff.
Always nice to take a look down memory lane and explore some of the ways that we got here throughout history in Greater West Bloomfield. We're not done yet exploring that history with the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society. You can find more info on their upcoming events and programs and find some historical information and research yourself on gwbhs.org. Your kids have a chance to win some bragging rights and learn about keeping our beloved environment clean and pristine with the Oakland County Water Resources Commission as part of their Clean Water Calendar Contest. Here with more details is Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner Jim Nash. Thanks for joining us today, Commissioner.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, glad to have you on about this. It's something that gets the kids really excited year in and year out, gets their artistic genes moving forward and gets them creative and learning all in the process while having a chance to display their art across the county. Give us the basics on the Clean Water Calendar Contest. What's going on with it in 2025?
Well, I'm glad I followed your previous show. This is about protecting our watersheds, learning about them, knowing what's in them. And this has been going on 21 years, long before I was in this office. And it's an effort to explore our watersheds and teach our 4th and 5th graders across those watersheds all about the environment, how we're protecting it, how they need to help protect it. The history of it, the long term of it, the great strides that have been done in terms of cleaning up that water and how we need to keep doing that. It brings in anywhere from 700 to 1,200 student art projects that they bring in. This works with their curriculum to help really bring it to life. When 4th and 5th graders come to these things, they learn about things. They see bugs under microscopes. It really fills in their imaginations and it carries forward. I've had young people come up to me, college students, who said they remembered going to this and how important it was. So it's one of those things that teaching everybody, and a lot of these kids take it back to their families and talk to them about all these things that are happening and have happened.
And it gets them an ability to learn and express what they've learned, put some context to it, help others learn as well, and it gets them engaged in a educational topic that may otherwise slip through in a classroom environment. How have you and others that help to oversee this contest found that this does engage students beyond what they would get in the traditional, more rote learning environment?
Oh, certainly. So, this is part of what we do. It's all around education. We have watershed festivals for 4th and 5th graders. And they come to Cranbrook Museum of Science, or they go to Oakland University campus. And they go off into all these different stations where they can learn different things. And it really does have an impression. Like I said, we had a young woman come to us looking for a job and said she remembered going to that, and that was the reason she wanted to come to us. So this kind of thing does have a huge impact. Again, we go to the schools that are in each one of these watersheds. So it's a certain number of schools. And again, we get between each one of them 700 or 1,000 that come in to do this for the art contest. So all these are different parts of that education project, and all of them have an impact on their families, and the future. We're touching the future in a way that really brings it to them. And once you catch the imagination of a young person, they can follow that their whole lives, and I think that's important.
The Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner's Clean Water Calendar Contest is open right now. You can get more information and submit your entries. 4th and 5th graders only. oakgov.com/calendar contest for more information. Once again, that's oakgov.com/calendar contest. We're joined by Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner Jim Nash on the program. As I mentioned, Commissioner, it's open to 4th and 5th graders specifically. That's the pool of artists that are going to ultimately be selected for these 12 different art pieces to go into this calendar. Why the focus specifically on those age groups in 4th and 5th grade?
Well, it's when they're really learning about these things for the first time in schools. So this backs that up again. It's tied to their curriculum. We want to make sure that they get that actual, tactile, that vision, that they see things rather than just reading them in a book or in a picture. So I think that's very important. And again, our partners, I mentioned Oakland University and Cranbrook Institute of Science. Cranbrook has been working with us from the beginning on this and on the watershed festivals. This is an amazing, I think the best cultural institution, right there with the zoo, but right there in Oakland County, and one of the best in the state. So this is that they're reaching out, we're helping them do that. The more we can work with and leverage all this out, the better we're off in the long run. This is part of our permits to do public education. And I have a nonprofit that helps fund a lot of this through Oakland Water. We work with Oakland University and Cranbrook to do this. And partners are very important in all our communities. Oakland County Schools plays a part. The communities we work with in their schools all play a part in this. And it's a wonderful way of uniting everyone around the cause of protecting the environment that we all depend on.
Entries are due by October 3rd. So now through October 3rd, these kids can make these pieces, send them into the county, and then those winners will be selected. Those 12 winning pieces by mid-November, they'll be announced, and it includes a number of different prizes, of course, recognition via a virtual exhibit, a calendar inclusion, some fun swag and art supplies as well. And these entries, they do have some specific parameters, Commissioner. Can you give us some details on what you're looking for from these 4th and 5th graders in terms of these art pieces, and what is allowed to be entered into this contest?
Well, we break it down into 12 kind of parts. So there's one for each month. You're looking at things like protecting our water, what's in the water, what we can do as individuals, what we can do as communities, and how things work. So these are all kind of, each year they're a little bit different. There'll be different categories, and they go out to the schools, so the schools see that, and then it's part of their curriculum, so the students pick out what's most interesting to them. And I can tell you, some of the art is absolutely amazing. I mean, some of it looks like it's done by adults, done by real, active artists. We've had several that have, actually 2 people have won both in 4th and 5th grade, have won the top prize, which is they get the most of the swag and most things like tickets to Cranbrook for their family for the year, and just a bunch of different things, art supplies and all kinds of different stuff like that. So we have this in December, usually second or third weekend, Saturday in December, where we have this at Cranbrook, where we give it to the kids and have a little, lunch, and it makes a real event for the ones that win. And there's some runners up too. So this is all to really spur that interest, get them going in terms of knowing what they live in terms of the environment, how they can work to protect it. It's just vitally important, and it really does. It gets back to families, it gets back to communities. We really work well with all our partners.
And as Oakland County faces water-related challenges, as much as they're able to overcome them in comparison to some other communities that may have even greater struggles or struggle with similar issues on a larger scale, how do educational efforts like this help to contribute to the county and ultimately your office as well, being able to address these issues and put some solutions in place that support the residents who are here in our communities?
Well, just getting the word out. Education is vitally important so people know what we're doing and the reason we're doing it. Climate change is bringing much stronger storms, much heavier rain than it had just 30 or 40 years ago. And they've increased dramatically, and we expect them to continue increasing. We have to build our infrastructure to be resilient to these storms, so there's less damage. We can recover right away. We're not worrying about damage to property or homes, businesses, even nature itself. So we have to build these things stronger. We have to make them, up to the storms, and any way we can to get that message out, we do as much as we can. This is one of those ways. The calendar contest and the watershed festivals. It's how that's done. We need to make sure people understand what we're doing and how they themselves can help. Putting in green infrastructure, rain gardens, planting trees, putting in rain barrels on gutters. That kind of thing means less gets into the system, and the less it gets into the system, less treatment, the less flooding, the less pollution. That's important that people understand that. And that's why we do this all the time. We do this in other counties too. We help watershed festivals on the Detroit River, even down in the downriver. There's another one that we do down there. So all of these have an impact on their local communities. We help people understand those things, and it's valuable to make sure that we can do what we need to do, and the citizens know why and what we're doing.
And it's providing solutions to problems, not simply preaching about the problems themselves. You can say, look, we have an issue with runoff. We have an issue with too much fertilization of our yards and all these other issues that people have been preaching about and saying that they're problems for our environment, problems for our watershed for a number of years. But then we talk about those rain gardens and other solutions as being ways to counteract some of those issues or even prevent some of those issues. That gets the people in the community going and actually focusing on the issues at hand instead of that debate back and forth. Water Resources Commissioner Jim Nash is with us on the Splash Live today. Their calendar contest for 4th and 5th grade students to promote clean water in the Oakland County area is ongoing. Entries are allowed now through early October. oakgov.com/calendar contest for more information. Commissioner Nash, before we let you go, anything else that we should know about this contest or other conservation efforts and educational opportunities coming up through your office?
We're doing lots of projects. We're doing a green infrastructure project in the southeast corner of the county where we're offering up to $2,000 rebates for folks to put rain gardens, trees, or rain barrels on their properties to reduce rain flow. And that's very, very popular. And other communities that I've talked to about this are very interested in doing that. So it's building this knowledge. And when you just said a couple of minutes ago about runoff and about the pollution things, you know that now. I mean, I've talked to you and I've talked to others on this station, and so you know that now. And maybe a few years ago you wouldn't have talked about that. You wouldn't have known about that. So it's getting that message out is super vital for folks to understand, and just day-to-day talking to other people. You saw a huge storm the other day. What happened? Did you see flooding? And so and then you hear, well, I hear they're doing a project about that. So it just gets through the communities, and then they realize that this is going to save them from having flooding problems in the future, from seeing, pollution fish kills in lakes, that kind of thing. You mentioned fertilizers. That's a big issue on shoreline, on riparian land where you're on shoreline of water. If you have too much, it gets into that water, and that's what breeds algae and bacteria and things that rob oxygen and can kill fish. So all these things are important, and we do as much of this as we can to get out there and show people how they can help this without big costs, without huge, investments in things, just doing things a little differently so they can protect those resources and their own property.
And something as simple as a calendar contest can get the creative juices flowing now in 4th and 5th grade, and you'll get 10, 15 years down the road, those kids are making those solutions happen for the future of our communities as well. Jim Nash, thank you so much for joining us today on the program.
Really appreciate being here, and I always like coming. So,
Water Resources Commissioner Jim Nash from Oakland County joining us on the Splash Live today. 4th and 5th grade students can now enter their clean water calendar contest, oakgov.com/calendar contest for more information. And to get those entries in, they're due soon, just a few weeks away. October 3rd is the deadline for kids to enter that contest. We'll take a break on the Splash Live. On the other side, we'll go from conservation to preparedness as we get ready for the West Bloomfield Fire Department open house and learn about fire prevention right here in West Bloomfield. Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
We'll be right back with the Splash Live.
Hi, I'm Chris Fry, Park Superintendent of West Bloomfield Parks. Congratulations, Civic Center TV, on 1 million views on YouTube. Thank you for all you do in the community, and thank you for having me on The Splash throughout the season to talk about activities out in the parks. Chris Fry, proud to be 1 in a million.
Finding a reputable business shouldn't require luck or chance. But how can you tell who you can trust? Pro tip. The BBB connects people with businesses they can trust. So think of the BBB as the better, check with the BBB first, because better businesses are honest and commit to high ethical standards bureau. That's why they're better. Always look for the sign of a better business and find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
This is Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. On cable and the radio. On the web too, and on social media. Civic Center TV, television that's close to home. And now, back to the Splash, live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Welcome back. I'm Tyler Kieft. Thank you so much for joining us, and as always, for following along with all of our programming and extra content all across our social media pages. Normally, the West Bloomfield Fire Department open house is held during Fire Prevention Week in the opening days of October. But with renovations on the way to Fire Station Number 1, they've moved that from Fire Prevention Week into National Preparedness Month as they get ready for their open house happening this weekend at Fire Station Number 1 on Orchard Lake Road. We'll be there promoting preparedness that we help through communications and, of course, with our partnerships with the West Bloomfield Fire Department and other safety apparatus in the greater West Bloomfield area. But I was recently joined by Lieutenant Patrick Donovan from the West Bloomfield Fire Department to learn more about this year's special event as they get ready for their Fire Department open house. Here's our Patrick, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Tyler. Good morning. How you doing today?
Good. I'm doing well. Glad to have you on the show to talk about the Fire Department open house a little bit earlier this year than it's been in past years, but that's for an exciting reason. Big renovations coming at Fire Station Number 1, the annual location for this event. Those are set to begin somewhere in October, which is why this event is moving into September. I want to start with that, though, from the firefighters' perspective, having some renovations coming to one of our oldest local fire stations. I presume that's a pretty exciting piece of news for your team.
Oh, yeah, it's super exciting. Whenever you get a chance to get some new equipment, new station, it kind of boosts morale. People get excited around here. It looks like just from the plans of how this station is going to be built, it's going to be pretty exciting. And I think all the firefighters here in West Bloomfield as well as the community when they come and visit Station 1. They're going to enjoy it a lot to see all the new station and all its new features that we have. And then also we'll be there once that station's built is this tower that's behind me. That's a new tower we got as well. And that'll be stationed at that station as well.
Yeah, a lot of great new features coming to the West Bloomfield Fire Station on Orchard Lake Road. You can learn more about that, wbtownship.org, and stay tuned to West Bloomfield Township Board meetings for more updates right here on Civic Center TV. Firefighter Donovan, the open house is a great opportunity for people to come into Fire Station number 1 and learn more about the fire department, see some of the work that your team does on the day-to-day, but beyond just being able to interface with the community on a dedicated day once a year. Why is this an important outing for the fire department on the front of getting out that public information for safety purposes, especially as we change seasons and head toward the colder months of the year?
Well, this is our one time a year that we really try to get the whole community together at a station where it is all about fire safety. And we try to reach the public as many community members as we can. This also includes, the families that are around and all the children where they can come in and they get to see some of the new exciting stuff that we have. As well, like I said, with the fire safety this year is going to be talking about lithium-ion batteries and the safety in the home. That's this year's theme. Usually NFPA, they usually come out with a theme for us, and it's some sort of problem that's been going on in the United States, and they decided that lithium batteries was the choice this year. And as you know, lithium batteries are everywhere. I have 5 of them on me right now. I had 6 earlier when I had my radio on me, but I got these ear pods on that there's 3 batteries in that, the case, the 2 earbuds, your phone, everything's got these lithium batteries in them. So it's important to get some safety tips out there, and that's what we're going to try to hit on this year. As well as, again, we always like to talk about smoke alarms and staying in, sleeping with your bedroom closed. There's a bunch of safety tips that we'll talk about. Hopefully we can get as many of the community that we can at this event because it's super exciting and we want to reach as many people as we can. So,
and it's not just telling people this information. You also have opportunities to show them some of this in action, from demonstrations of a kitchen fire. Of course, the smokehouse is there, which is a great opportunity mostly for the kids to see just how important those fire safety lessons they learn in school or they're taught by their parents at home are in action, just how quickly a room can fill with smoke and how dangerous that can be. How much does the seeing element of something like the open house help to really drive that information that you're providing to the community all throughout the year home to people that visit here in Greater West Bloomfield?
Well, in particular, one of our demonstrations that we're doing this year, we haven't done it in the past couple of years, but it's going to be a kitchen fire, a grease fire. We're going to put a little demonstration about that on, and it's going to show how we can get a grease fire to get going, and then we're going to talk about what to do. And actually seeing it happen means a lot more to someone than just telling them and then it goes, they forget about it. So when you're telling them and they get to actually see it in action, it means that much more. So for this, we'll do a kitchen fire. We'll teach them how to smother the fire out, turn the heat off. We're trying to get rid of the oxygen. We're trying to get rid of the heat. So there's a couple examples right there. As well as when we have a new inflatable fire safety house. We just got it. We've only set it up once, so it's going to be exciting to show the kids that. So they get to go through the house, and there'll be little demonstrations inside the house of what to do if there's a fire, get down, stay low, get out of the house, go to a meeting spot. So when you're actually doing it, it means that much more to the community or that much more to someone. That's how I learn too. I learn by seeing. I don't learn by just reading it or hearing it. I like to see what's going on when I'm learning. So,
and we're often very visible out there every year at the fire department open house. We talk to a lot of people that attend the event. Of course, the vendors that are there providing some of this safety information, these resources to families across the community. But what stands out to me year in and year out is, while this is focused on fire safety and fire prevention from your side of the coin, a lot of what is available there in terms of these resources are connecting people with things that necessarily aren't directly connected to the fire department, like public health information, and some different vendors that can come into your home to help prevent those fire safety hazards themselves. Why is that an important part of what happens at this fire department open house year in and year out?
Well, it's kind of as a fire department, it's almost like we are a catch-all for all safety. And some of the stuff still includes fire. Like we'll have the dryer cleaning there for dryers, trying to make sure that they keep the dryers clean all the way to the outside. But another important one is the flu vaccine. That's another one that we have. The Alanis Foundation comes in every year, and they offer free flu shots at the station. So it's a nice, easy, convenient way to get your flu shot each year too. But we're a safety department. We're not just a fire department. We're trying to make sure that we can keep people safe in every aspect, not just fires alone. And as everybody knows, or most people know, we do run medic here too. So we're all paramedics as well. So not just fire, we're also trying to teach people some kind of medical information as well, medical safety as well.
When it comes to our public safety officials, mostly when we think about our police officers, the buzzword over the past several years has been community policing, having that interface with members of the community so they're familiar with their local police officers should they ever have an encounter with them. But I'd imagine, too, for firefighters, for paramedics especially, that sort of element in our community would also be extremely important if there ever is an emergency. So how much of that community firefighting element, so to speak, comes into this open house, and why it is so important from the firefighter and paramedic perspective to be able to have that interaction with members of our local area?
Well, overall, it is always nice to meet people. Like you'll see people on calls and everything, and it's nice to see people when you're not on a call. So engaging with everybody other than those calls, it is nice. Getting out to, even when we go out to, like when I do inspections and stuff, just meeting the community and trying to make sure everything's, properly, like our sprinkler systems are working, and I'm teaching people about that, the fire extinguishers, teaching people how to use their fire extinguishers, knowing what we have for resources as well. One thing that we have is that we install smoke alarms here, and a lot of people might not know that, but when we're out there engaging with the community, we can pass that message along as well. And going with that, if anybody is less fortunate, or we always try to target high hazard populations like the seniors and people with children and disabled. If you know anybody that doesn't have smoke alarms or working smoke alarms, we are more than happy to go to their house and install these smoke alarms for them. And if you don't engage with the community and teach them about that, they don't know about these programs that we offer. So that is one. I recommend that if someone that has or needs smoke alarms, call us, 248-409-1505. We'd be more than happy to install smoke alarms for you. Like I said, it's getting out and engaging with the community. It teaches them, like we have some of these other programs to offer. We also have CPR training that we offer as well. And there's a lot of other programs.
You'll be able to learn a little bit more also about the hands-only CPR and generally about CPR and first aid training at the open house as well. For more information on those training opportunities, we just had Blake Belsky, one of the captains and coordinators for the emergency services, on our program. That can be found on civiccentertv.com. We're joined by firefighter and paramedic Patrick Donovan on the program today as we preview the West Bloomfield Fire Department open house happening September 21st at Fire Station number 1. Patrick, before we let you go, any other details we haven't covered yet today that would be important for the community to know before they come out on that Sunday to Fire Station number 1?
When you come out, just expect that we had a lot of activities going on. So a couple of things I didn't mention, that we will have our brand new tower truck there. It'll be fully extended. Get up and get to see it. It's, brand new. Before it gets a couple years old, you get to see this thing. Well, it is shining. So it's super nice to see that. We have extrication demos come out so you can see us cutting up cars. Again, we're going to have that kitchen fire. We have the brand new fire safety house. It's inflatable. Get the kids out there, and they're going to be running through this house, and they're going to be amazed how big this house is, and it's outdoors, and it's an inflatable house. It's really cool to see. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff. Like I said, we got the hazmat truck's going to be there. Our tech rescue. Last year, our tech rescue had a huge tire, and through mechanical advantage and ropes, these small kids are able to pull this giant tire around, and they were like over there pulling this tire around like crazy because they thought it was so cool. So come out, please. Like I said, we are absolutely excited to have as many community members as we can. So, yeah, please come out and visit us at Station 1 on September 21st from noon to 3.
More information always available on their Facebook page as well at WB Fire Department. Patrick, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Tyler. You have a great day.
We'll be having a lot of fun out at the Fire Department open house this week, Sunday, noon to 3 p.m. at Fire Station Number 1. Stay tuned for our coverage on civiccentertv.com and across our social media as we highlight preparedness in Greater West Bloomfield and keeping you informed during emergencies that may arise at any time throughout the year here in your hometown. Close to home on Wednesday, a local author that has made national headlines and has sold her stories all over the country is coming back home to teach you how to get your stories published. Susan Shapiro will be part of a panel at Schuler Books in West Bloomfield on Wednesday night to help aspiring authors get their stories published. She spoke to Jake Schaff recently on the Splash Live, and here's a portion of their conversation.
Susan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Of course, really happy to have you with us. And this panel sounds amazing. There's a lot of people in the community with a story to tell, looking to get those stories out there. And this publishing panel is going to do great things to educate that community. What motivated you to participate in the Secrets of Publishing panel?
Well, I grew up in West Bloomfield, and I come home a lot to visit my family. And when I started publishing books about 25 years ago, I always joke I publish books my family hates. But while I was in Michigan, I thought if I do a book event, then I get to write off the trip and do fun events. So I started doing them in Michigan, and they're just so much fun. And what I realized is that there's so many brilliant editors and authors and writers in Michigan. So instead of just doing them myself, I try to drag some of my students and colleagues and other people I know, other luminaries in the field. And we've done a whole bunch of them. This is the first one I'm doing in West Bloomfield Schulers. I did one in Grand Rapids, and that was a real schlep from West Bloomfield. So I was so excited when they opened a West Bloomfield store. And actually, here's a great story. Ooh. I have a former student online. Her name is Christine Wyman, and she took my new school class online during the pandemic. And the first assignment I give my students is write about your most humiliating secrets. So she wrote this amazing, funny piece about how she was the only one during the pandemic who liked wearing a mask because she had had cranial surgery and was very self-conscious about her chin. So she wrote this brilliant piece about it, and an editor who zoomed in from the Washington Post bought it. And when I posted it, an editor that I know fell in love with the story, and it became a best-selling kids book, a middle grade novel called Jawbreaker. So Christina, who teaches at Michigan State University, is now on her 4th book. So she has had, from Farrar Straus Giroux, so she has had 2 bestsellers so far. Her new one is Slouch. So when I was coming there, I mentioned to her, I'm going to try Schuler. She says, I know a contact there. I'm like, well, if you give me a contact there, you got to do it with me. So I'm dragging her so we get to tell this extremely happy story, especially, the world is kind of in a crazy place and the publishing industry is a little bit difficult now. So it's such a happy story. And as I say to my students, 3 pages can change your life. So we're going to teach you how to do that.
I was going to say, when you said the name Christy Wyman, that name did sound familiar from the list of people who are going to be on this panel. And like Christy, you yourself have had a very extensive resume with teaching experiences, teaching for writing at both NYU and Columbia. I'm curious, how does engaging with aspiring writers in West Bloomfield differ from those teaching experiences?
Well, I got to tell you, what's really interesting is that for 25 years after I graduated University of Michigan, I came to NYU to get my graduate degree. For 25 years, I was teaching in person at NYU, the New School in Columbia. And I'm kind of a technophobe, even though I have my brother who's in Ann Arbor, Eric, is an IT genius. I'm a total technophobe. But so I was only teaching people in New York. So when I went to, during the pandemic, when I went to Zoom, I didn't have any choice. So my brother helped me figure out Zoom. So all of a sudden, I started getting students from all over, including Michigan. All the people that I knew from Michigan, friends, colleagues of all ages, and they had luck. In fact, Christina was Zooming in from Lansing, Michigan. So since the pandemic, I've been teaching my own private classes online. So I have a lot of people from Michigan, a lot of people who got published, been very exciting. So interestingly, there's no difference now that we're all online.
That's absolutely right. And as you just said, and from what you're telling me, your courses are wildly popular. Can you describe your core teaching philosophy and how you balance realism with encouragement for new writers?
Yes, so I call my method the instant gratification takes too long method of writing, where the goal of my class is to write and publish a great piece by the end of the class. And I am fiercely honest and also inspiring. And I'll tell you a funny story about a Michigander that she knows I love this story, which is I was trying to write my own book and I was having no luck for 7 years. It was just rejection, 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 rejection. And everyone was saying to me, oh, it's so funny and it's so smart. It was about two women who switched lives. It was actually set partly in Michigan, and it was the story of my brother married a close friend of mine from Michigan, but nobody was buying it. So I showed it to Laura Berman, who was a Detroit news writer who was very, very honest. She was one of my mentors. And I said, Laura, everyone says this is great, but nobody's buying it. Tell me what's wrong with it. So Laura read it and she says, okay, number one, you have no imagination whatsoever. Stop writing fiction. She said, you're writing about an ambivalent relationship between two women. You write better about people that you love. And she said, number three, two sister-in-laws is the most boring subject in the world. Write about sex. So I said, so nobody's going to buy this? I shouldn't rewrite it? She's like, put it away. I went home crying. Happened to meet an ex from the University of Michigan that I had dinner with the next day. And then I was reading, Nick Hornby has a book called High Fidelity, where he goes back to re-meet his top 5 heartbreaks of all time. And I thought, well, the guy does it. He looks at the woman, he said, she's still hot. I'd still be with her and it's over. I said, oh my God, when I meet my exes, I'm reading diary entries from 50 years of therapy sessions, and I'm finding the gun wrapper from the first date, and I'm looking through albums. All of a sudden, I got the idea for a new book, nonfiction, about sex and people I love, called 5 Men Who Broke My Heart. That was my debut book. And ever since then, when I teach writing, I remember that as much as I want to be inspiring, I always have to tell people the truth, because the fact that Laura was the only one who told me the truth unlocked my whole career.
That's our show. I want to remind you that television that's close to home is always online on civiccentertv.com and across our social media. You can see that entire interview with Jake Schaff and Susan Shapiro on our on-demand page and get a special preview of that presentation on Wednesday at Schuler Books. Big thank you to our entire crew and, of course, to you for joining in. For our entire team, I'm Tyler Keefe, live, local, social. It's The Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.